Welcome to Unfeared, a podcast of ghost stories written by women. For this Halloween episode, I thought I would bring you a really cool story by a really new writer called Siddle. And it's a story that is based in a forest, and so I thought I would come to this kind of really gloomy, spooky, foresty place in Bedfordshire called Stockgrove. And this story is written by a Canadian writer, and the focus of this story, the geographical focus, is a sort of really lush forest that leans down to a campground by the sea, and most of this story takes place in that forest and not at that Okay, so the geese and the ducks aren't impressed with me. I've had some swans coming up and giving me a bit of lip, but I thought that it would be a brilliant place anyway. So this story is mainly focused around that mixture between water and forest. And the very heart of this story is a relationship between three women. One of them is dead. In the Lush Forest, Nothing Dies by Siddle. It started when she liked one of Mia's photos on Instagram. She shouldn't have done that, Mia thought. Mia stared at her phone, her steps slowing until she came to a stop on the trail. For a moment, she forgot her surroundings. The dense forest of way-high ferns and towering cedars, damp-aired and dimly lit, even in the heat of summer. She wouldn't have posted the photo, but Hel had insisted. They looked so cute and so hardcore. They were on a freaking mountaintop. Mia hesitated. She knew she was being weird, but it made her nervous, putting out photos for people to judge. Ali used to say that social media was for insecure people who needed approval, and then she'd look at Mia sidelong as if to say, "Are you one of those people?" Mia's hand hovered over her phone indecisively. Maybe she was one of those people. Maybe she wasn't. But more importantly, why couldn't she break the habit of remembering what Ali would have said, even now? In the end, she couldn't bear to dampen Hel's enthusiasm. So Mia had tapped out a caption, "First backpacking trip," tagged Hel in the photo at "Don't Call Me Helen," and shared it, despite her misgivings. Hel was right, they did look cute. And then the next time she checked her phone, Ali had liked it. Her mouth went dry. Impossible. It was a glitch, she told herself. Or maybe Ali's mum was using the phone now. Thinking of Ali's mum made a lump rise in Mia's throat. She jammed the phone back in her pocket of her leggings and started walking again. When she caught up with Hel, her friend was crouched at the edge of the trail. "Check this out!" Hel pointed at something on the forest floor about a foot away. It emerged from the soil, a white, slender thing, with fingers on one end. Mia recoiled. "What is it?" "It's a mushroom," grinned Hel. "Isn't it wild?" "I thought it was a hand." Mia didn't get any closer. Hel crouched down and started taking photos. So freaky. Mia shifted from foot to foot. Her shoulders were starting to ache from the weight of her backpack. She hitched it up, uselessly for the 100th time. Hel stood up. "Nothing really dies in a place like this," she said, brushing her hands on her pants. Mia shivered, though she was warm and sweaty from walking. Around them, the coastal forest teemed with life and decay. Trees grew from other trees. Fallen logs wore thick pelts of moss, and whorls of lichen bloomed on the barest rocks. Hel checked the map. "We're making good time. Only another couple hours till we reach the campsite." She sounded pleased. "After we set up, we can walk down to Echo Beach and relax." Mia looked up, but Hell had already started walking. Echo Beach. The words brought it all back. Memories closed over Mia like water. The announcement in homeroom, the memorial in the gym. The way everyone had avoided looking her in the eye for the rest of the year because she was the best friend of the girl who drowned. Mia trudged after Hal, moving slowly, lost in her thoughts. Mia watched Hal as she summited the ridge, noting where she stepped, where she put her hands. She wouldn't tell her, Mia decided. She didn't want Hal to feel bad. It was her own fault for not asking exactly where the campsite was, and Hal couldn't have known. Mia hadn't told her or anyone else at university. She'd never really found the right moment. How do you go from sharing your name and program to telling people that your best friend drowned in the last year of high school? It was too sad. And Mia was tired of being sad. And if she didn't tell anyone Ali died, she wouldn't have to talk about the other part, the complicated part. Ali's death had left an overwhelming hole in Mia's life. She'd taken up a lot of space when she was alive too. Mia had liked that at first. Then she took more and more, until Mia's life was barely her own. And then she died. Mia took a deep breath and started climbing the slope. The heavy backpack pulled her backwards, made it hard to balance. This wasn't the kind of thing you told your new best friend, was it? That you used to be kind of dominated by your old best friend? And that you never wanted her to die, but part of you was relieved that she was gone because you just didn't know how you'd get out of it? Mia let Hal do most of the talking as they descended the western slope of the ridge. If Hal noticed Mia's silence, she didn't say anything. They set up camp in a small clearing. Hal showed Mia how to set up the tent and burst out laughing when it collapsed with Mia inside. Mia laughed too, inside the slack nylon walls. By the time they were done, the sun was low, piercing the trees in coppery flashes. "We should watch the sunset from the dock," said Hal. She was flushed and happy. There was no reason to say no, at least no reason Mia could explain. Echo Beach faced an island covered in fir trees. The sun sank behind it, turning the ocean to a silvery mirror that gave the island a shadowy, watery twin. They sat on the edge of the dock, dangled their hiking boots over the edge. The sky flushed apricot. "It's so beautiful," Mia thought. It was a simple thought, but it filled her the way the light fills the sky. Her shoulders, free of the backpack, finally started to relax. She leaned back on her hands. No clouds. They would be able to see the stars from the dock tonight. Her reverie was broken by a sound. It came from under the dock, a huffing, breathy sound, almost like a sigh, followed by a splash. "Was that seal?" cried Hal delightedly. Too sore to move, Mia watched her friend run to the far side of the dock and kneel on the edge, craning her head to see the water beneath. "It went under," said Hal, disappointed, her voice echoing in the empty space under the dock. Mia turned back to the water. She smiled to herself. Hal was so joyful, so full of life. She could tell her about Ali, Mia thought suddenly, about Echo Beach and the other stuff too. She would understand. Mia opened her mouth. Something broke the surface of the water, flashed white, and disappeared. Mia leaned forward, squinting. It had looked just like the fungus, like a white, waterlogged hand. Something wet and cold clasped her ankle. She gasped and jerked back, but it held firm. A piece of rope, a strand of seaweed, a plastic bag. Mia's thoughts became a frantic ticker tape of possibilities. She leaned forward slowly, trying to keep herself anchored as she peered down at her boots. An arm jutted from the water, pale and bloated. 4 swollen fingers wrapped around her ankle. The fingers looked soft, but they gripped her like a vice. Under the surface, she saw a swirl of dark hair. Mia looked up before she could see any more. Nausea roiled in the pit of her stomach. She fixed her eyes on the island in front of her and braced her free leg against the dock. She took a quiet breath and pushed herself back as hard as she could. The hand tightened its grip, but did not move. She glanced at Hel, but she was bent over her phone, grinning. "Everyone loves that photo of us," she said, without looking up. The arm began to pull. "You can get out of this," Mia told herself. "Just get loose, calmly and quietly." She swallowed and braced herself again. It tore her off the dock with one violent tug. Mia clawed at the water as her ears filled with muffled sound. The arm dragged her downwards, the water growing colder around her. Mia saw a gleam of flesh, the strap of a bikini cutting into a puffy shoulder, hair waving like seaweed. The hair shifted, and she saw Ali's face. Her summer tan had gone to bluish white, her lips the silver of abalone. Only her eyes looked the same as they always had. She grinned at Mia and pulled on her ankle again, jerking her towards the rocky bottom. "Let go!" Mia yelled into the water, though it only came out as bubbles and her mouth filled with salt. She snapped her mouth shut. Her chest was begging her to breathe. She twisted uselessly in Ali's grip. Ali started to laugh. It was joyless and pointed, the same laugh Mia remembered from video chats, sleepovers, before and after class. Her boot, Mia thought. She closed her eyes and bent forward, reaching for her laces, hands slow and clumsy in the cold, her fingers inches from Ali's. The knot held. Something brushed her face. A hand clasped her arm. She jerked it free, fought with the knot until it released. Then 2 hands gripped her armpits hard. She thrashed away from them and broke the surface, gasping. Hel was treading water next to her, her eyes wide and her curls slick against her skull. "Dude, are you okay? What was that?" "Get out of the water," Mia croaked. Hel hesitated, then swam toward the wooden ladder on the side of the dock. Mia followed close behind. She was halfway up the ladder when Ali seized her ankle again. Mia wrapped her arms around the ladder and held on, but she couldn't free herself from Ali's iron grip. Hel grabbed Mia's arms and pulled, lending her weight to Mia. For a sickening moment, Mia felt like her shoulders were ripping out of their sockets. "Fuck you, Ali, I told you to let go," she hollered, just as Hel yelled, "I got you!" The words tangled in panic and confusion. Mia pointed her toe and jerked her knee up with everything she had. Her foot slipped from Ali's grasp. Hel stumbled backwards, pulling Mia with her. They crashed onto the wood together. Hel sat up, rubbing the back of her head. "Are you okay?" "I think your knee hit my face," Mia said, wincing. "Well, what just happened?" "I'm not sure." It wasn't a lie. "I looked up and something was pulling you in." Hel paused. "Was it the seal? Please tell me that was a seal." Mia shook her head. She was sick to her stomach. Hel studied her in the dimming light. "So," she said, leaning back on her palms, "who's Ali?" Mia looked past her friend to the shore, to their campsite. She scanned the trees, but all she saw was branches tossing in the wind like waves. "Maybe we should put on some dry clothes," Hel added. "Light a fire. You can tell me after if you want." Mia nodded. "Okay." She stood up slowly, feeling every ache, but also feeling a little lighter. She didn't know what to do about Ali, waiting in the water, just like she used to wait for Mia after class. But Hel was here. She would tell her everything, even the parts that made no sense. They would get through the night together. Deep in her pocket, soaked with seawater, her phone began to ring. And that is the end of In the Lush Forest, Nothing Dies. Ooh, that is such a creepy story. I mean, it's got all the classics, hasn't it? It's got, kind of difficult relationships with people, and it's got creepy ghosts in water, which I have to say are one of my absolute freaky things. And it's got bloated hands, and it's got creepy mushrooms, and it's a brilliant story. I love it. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that it sets your Halloween up for a really scary, cool evening. Okay. If you really liked it, come back in a fortnight to listen to the next episode of Unfeared, a podcast of ghost stories written by women. If you'd also like to get more information about the podcast, you can pop over to our coffee page at coffee.com/unfeared, and you'll find lots of behind the scenes things and funky downloads and cool illustrations and stuff. And also, if you wanted to buy us a coffee, you can do. Okay. All right. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.